Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin. I am the editor of International Confectionery Magazine. I'm joined today by Piet Tæstensen, the CEO of Aasted, and we're here to talk all about sustainability. Piet, could you start by introducing yourself and talking a little bit about your role within the company?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Piet Tæstensen, and I'm the CEO of Aasted. Been here at the company since 2005, so quite a little bit of experience within the business.
Could you also, as well, Piet, talk a little bit about the history of Aasted, because it goes back quite a long time, I understand, and what have been some significant milestones for the company in that time?
Well, the Aasted company is a family-owned company and has been so for many decades. Actually, the initial part of the company originates back from 1917, so we already have celebrated our 100 years of existing. But it is still a family-owned company with the family Aasted and family Hedström, and we. Especially since for the last 20 years, we tried to go deeper and deeper into the chocolate molding side of it, the confectionery side of it, and also the bakery side of it. So we like to be provider of good machines and solutions within those industries.
I think that sums up quite nicely.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about sustainability and
Yes.
how it is a big talking point and doesn't seem like it will go away anytime. What sort of sustainability targets have you set for the business, and what are you focusing on specifically? Because there are lots of aspects of sustainability you could look at, I imagine. So what did you look at, or what are you looking at?
Well, I thought that, I mean, it's been a very high priority subject for our company for many years. We made the first energy efficient machineries all the way back in the tens, or what it's called. I think within the last 3 to 4 years, what we tried to do is that we are trying to integrate the sustainability agenda into the way that we do business. So, for example, we implemented what we call the triple Ps. So instead of focusing mainly on profit, we now have profit, planet, and people. So whenever we take a decision, we have to consider all three bottom lines. That's one example. We just changed our business objectives so that actually here in Denmark, when you are a company, you have to have a business objective that it's publicly accessible. And we changed that last year, where we added that the reason why we're here is also to have a positive impact on the environment and to do good as well with our business. So it's anchored all the way up to the owners and the board, and goes down to the company in that way. In order, or with respect to targets, I mean, we have a different set of targets. We've of course also focusing on scope 1 and 2. So as many other in these industries and in general, we are working towards net zero in scope 1 and 2. I think we will achieve that. Our target is to have it achieved within 2030, but I do believe that we will be very close already in 25. We actually reduced with more than 50% here the first couple of years, and have concrete actions in order to get rid of the remaining 50. But scope 1 and 2, like for the most of us, is not where the real problem is. The real problem is actually in scope 3, upwards and downwards, where we have over 95% of our footprint. So basically, what would be nice if everybody could, I mean, it's very simple and almost cliche like, but if everybody just could clean up after themselves, then we wouldn't have a problem. The problem is that if you look at scope 3, upwards, upstream and downstream, it is getting more difficult to do something, because you can't do it yourself, so you have to do it together, partnering up with the one end suppliers and the other end customers. And we would like to reduce our footprint by 2030 in scope 3 by 50%, which is actually a very, very, very ambitious target. And yeah, that's what we're looking for.
I think it can feel quite daunting.
Yes.
Yes, I think it can feel quite daunting, and I definitely appreciate your point about why don't we all just work together to tackle this, and therefore it'll be easier. You mentioned being a company that's been focusing on sustainability for quite some years now, and energy efficiency. I wanted to delve into that a little bit deeper. What would you say are the focus points for sustainability in chocolate and bakery production? I think energy efficiency is one of those. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think there are different levels where you can improve. The first thing is, of course, that the individual machines are getting more and more energy efficient. So here we've worked for quite some years, especially within the tempering technology solutions, where we have what we call a supernova energy, and we have our new technologies, stellar novas and orbits, that all are significantly more energy efficient than the known technology within tempering of chocolate. Whenever we go out with some of those numbers, we always make sure that they are third-party certified, so that it's not us who's going out and saying reduction numbers, but that we always make sure that we have a third party who verifies that it's correct. That's very important to us. So that is the first level on the machine. But actually, where we see the biggest potential is actually if you go from a machine level to a system level. So what we've done here the last year is that we established a department which we call Energy Solutions, where we actually with the customer and go out and do some consulting and partnering up about how can we make sure that we have the most efficient energy sources. How can we make sure that we don't use energy first to cool water and then to heat water, but then we can reuse and only use it once. And then, of course, implementing primarily heat pumps as a technology source in order to reduce energy consumption and thereby also, of course, CO2 emissions. Where we see it, that's where we have the biggest potential, especially in scope 3 out with our customers, is with our customers to go through the plants and the factories and together find out, okay, how do we do this the smartest way?
I think the energy solutions department you have is absolutely fascinating. I got the chance to speak to a member of your team about it at Interpack. And as I understand it, it's sort of like a complete overhaul. It's not just how do we make this one machine energy efficient? It's how do we look at the whole system this customer is operating with and make that more energy efficient, which I think is really interesting. And I imagine when it comes to supporting customers who are thinking, well, we want to be more sustainable, but there's so much to look at, and where do we start? It's probably a real helpful guide for them.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that we do it, of course, when we offer new solutions. So you can have a chocolate molding line the ordinary way, or you can have it energy solution enabled from the beginning. So that's one thing if we look forward, but also important that you can do retrofits on existing lines in order to improve that one, which is also very, very relevant for many customers out there. So I agree that both issues are important. I think a general thing is actually that if you're talking sustainability, the one very important point is how. Today you buy many things that don't have a lifetime expectancy that is very long. The machines we supply, we have many machines back from the 60s that are still running. So that in itself is actually one of the best ways to have a positive impact on sustainability, to make sure that you you can make something that can last forever. That is you have the possibility to via service and maintenance to make it, to keep it running. So that is very important.
I mean, from the 60s, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that's older than I am, than some of my parents. That is truly amazing. And I think that is definitely a point. We're seeing more and more make these machines have longevity, so
Yes.
that they don't, and then of course with that comes several benefits. Your customers they aren't spending as much money on replacing, and therefore they're happy, you're happy, planet's happy.
Yeah.
On the topic of your customers, could you just talk briefly about what demands you're experiencing from them at the moment, and how you're meeting these demands in your solutions?
Well, I think definitely we see some trends or a lot of demands. Of course, there's the reduction of energy consumption and thereby the reduction of emissions that we talked about before. But if we're talking very concrete and practical issues, then the issue of space is very relevant for many customers. I mean, there are many times you have the factories that you have, and you have the space that is available, and you cannot do anything about that. So in order to help there, I mean, many of the processes and lines we do, they are pretty space consuming because you need a lot of space for cooling. So where we have been focusing here is how can we, again, focusing on the tempering technology where we originate from, how can we invent tempering technologies that can, for example, reduce cooling time. Hence, you need less cooling. Again, hence you need less space. So the one benefit here is that you have, of course, the customer needs less space. The other one is that we need less material to produce, which is again a good for the planet. And again, of course, if you have less cooling, you need less energy and thereby less emission again. So that it has a lot of added on benefits if we can do that in a smarter way. So that's one focus point, the space. The other thing is that I think we see a tendency to more changeovers. So shorter batches, which again focuses on reduction of waste. Because today, if you have the different machines and the different part processes, if you change your mass or your product, you have some waste. So if you can reduce, let's say, the column size in a tempering machine, then automatically you have less waste. Of course, it's cheaper because you throw less away, but it's also faster because you can get up and running faster because it takes less time. So if we look at the total cost of ownership in general, there's lots of possibilities where you can make it faster and you can reduce your waste and your footprint. So that's, I guess, three of the demands we see the most right now.
Seemingly incremental changes, but when you make a machine smaller, as you say, you make it takes up less space, runs more efficiently. It's all these benefits, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
How would you say you're supporting your customers in these difficult times for producers? Could you talk about the role of the Aasted Academy and also perhaps the role the Technology Centre plays in doing this?
Yeah, I mean, we've continued invested in our technology center where we really, appreciate and enjoy having all our customers visiting us and testing with us. So at the beginning, it was actually the primarily focused one was on testing and running the different trials. Over the years, especially the last 2 years, it's been more and more educational, training, knowledge sharing, brainstorming on good ideas. So that's actually a nice change in the use of our technology center, and we really just enjoy ping-ponging and brainstorming with our customers on these ideas, and it's nice to have facilities that encourages that.
It sounds like a concurrent theme in Aasted perhaps is about adapting to these challenges and adapting to the changing times, which I think is a really important point. So very finally, Piet, I just wanted to ask you, what would you say drives your innovation, if you can summarize that?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that has to go hand in hand in order for this journey to be successful. I mean, we would like to have a role where we would very much like to facilitate, or to actually, in all modesty, we would like to lead the change towards a more sustainable production in the business, in the industry, and we know that we're just a small player, but we think we have some good ideas, and at least we would like to invite partners, colleagues, suppliers, and customers to participate in how can we face this challenge that we're all faced with, because that's just a fact that we are all hit with these issues. We see it today, even as we speak now. I mean, the climate changes are getting very, very obvious. We have the fires, we have the heat waves over Europe now. So I think the invitation to do this together is very important. And that is an open invitation that we try to put out to everybody. We try to facilitate sessions with suppliers, with customers, with educational institutions, universities, where we find out how can we solve some of those issues. I mean, the problem is many times that I think we all agree that there are issues, but the tricky issue, how do you go from seeing a fire in Greece to find out what can we do, what is our contribution, and do it very concrete and practical. So it's not just talk, but okay, let's do this. So now we find the technology that does it possible for us to reduce cooling time, which means we can have a smaller cooler in, which means we need less material and less energy. Okay, that's concrete. It might not be much in the bigger picture, but it's something, and we can do it, and we can scale it. So I think that's the one of the things we would like to try to facilitate is how can we make it concrete, those actions. So it's just a small contribution, but we really like to do our best there.
I think that's a really insightful point about what you said, seeing wildfires and working out how to translate into this industry. I will say what I think the brilliant part of this industry is that people are willing to share what they're doing with one another, as opposed to not, So I think there is a real movement to share these challenges with each other, and I definitely see that at Aasted, and I think it's been brilliant to talk to you today, even if it only provides just a snapshot of what you're doing. I hope that this will give other people food for thought and maybe give them some inspiration about how they can tackle these challenges. So thank you so much, Piet.
No problem. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for speaking with me today. And for anyone interested, I'm sure they can check out what you're doing on your website.
Always.